Hey there, and thank you for joining me. Today, I want to talk to you about the topic of happiness. And this is a very important topic, and I believe it's a very timely topic because we live in a day and age where people are just struggling with being happy. You may be struggling with happiness in your life currently, or you may know someone around you, like a friend or a family member, who has struggled with happiness or is currently struggling with happiness. And if so, I really want you to listen closely because I'm going to share with you some information that is just pivotal, that is life-changing. If you're struggling with happiness or you know someone that's struggling with happiness, I really want to encourage you to listen closely because what I'm going to talk about today is one easy way for you to find happiness in life. There's one small thing you can do. And literally in any kind of circumstance, you can find happiness. And so I want to share that with you because I believe that it will be impactful to your life. And just like it's been impactful to my life, it's been impactful to the lives of others that I've shared this with. And so again, I believe that this is very important. And so hopefully you will find value in what I'm going to talk about today. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Walter P. Henry, and I am an internet marketing expert. And, for years, my company, Arrow Marketing, has helped entrepreneurs grow their presence online. Now, I'm sharing that with you because I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a doctor of any sort, but what I am is someone who has studied the minds of entrepreneurs and just people who have had just high aspirations. And really the reason why I've studied this group is for me to better serve them. But through this journey, I've learned so much from them and just things that I've applied to my life, and I've helped others with this. So again, I want to share this with you, but really, the way I discovered this is I gotta tell you a quick little story. Years ago, I was working on my business, and actually, business was going really well. Business was good. The relationships around me were really well. I was happy with my wife. I was happy with my friends. Had a very active lifestyle. But for some reason, I came to a point in life where things just got a little bland. It wasn't like I was depressed or, severely unhappy. But on the opposite, it wasn't like I was just happy or excited about life. And so maybe some of you can relate. Maybe you felt like that as well. Maybe, you've actually felt where life is just kind of gray or kind of bland, or you're not really excited to get out of bed in the morning, or maybe you do feel those emotions of depression or just sadness, or just those negative emotions that kind of hold you back. And so for me, I felt this blandness, and by chance I had been listening to a podcast, and the podcast actually featured a small snippet from Tony Robbins. I'm sure you recognize the name. It was the first time I had ever heard him speak, but it was a small snippet of Tony Robbins. And so Tony was talking about a much bigger point, but he said something that I would never forget. And actually, it has stuck with me for years. And so I don't even remember what his bigger point was, because that statement was so pivotal to my life that I focused in on that. And that's what I remember from the podcast. And so I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But I want to tell you that I took this statement and I applied it to my life, and I saw literally an amazing difference. And so that's why I want to share that with you. So the statement that he said in this podcast, very, very simple. He said, the key to happiness is progress. Progress is the key to happiness. And kind of let that set in for a second. I mean, really think about it for a moment. Now, the first time I heard it, I almost dismissed it, but I held on to it and said, you know what? Let me think about this for a minute. In fact, let me test this. because anytime I learn something new, I can't just take it for that. I can't fully believe into it until I test it. And so, as a good researcher does, I had to test it and make sure that it was good, valuable information. And so that's what I did. I sat there and I thought about it for a moment and I said, okay, if the key to happiness is progress, I thought about times in my life when I was just really happy. The first thing that had popped in my mind was when I was first starting my business. I was doing as an entrepreneur, you can imagine all of the various tasks that it takes to start a business. But every task that I worked on, every step that I took that got me closer to my goal of starting my business, it was very exciting. It was actually, it literally played into my happiness and my emotional state. And so I said, okay, I can see how when I was getting closer to kind of launching my business, that literally played into my happiness. That makes a lot of sense. I can see how that applied. But I thought to myself, I said, Tony didn't say the key to happiness is progressing as an entrepreneur or progressing in your career. He said the key to happiness is progress. So I thought a little further. I said, okay, well, what other areas in my life or what other times in my life was I really happy? And then I thought about a time when I decided to make a fitness goal for myself. Now, before this time, I had made many goals, we'll say, and I even had joined many gyms and literally let those memberships just sit on my dresser and they went untouched. But at this time, I had met some friends, and these guys were just yoked. I mean, they were big guys, and they would go to the gym all the time. In fact, they would go to the gym twice a day, which at the time, to me, just sounded insane. But they shared to me that that was their secret to success. They said that going to the gym every single day allowed them to, I guess, create a pattern of doing that activity. And so they didn't really feel like, they didn't take any days off. So they didn't allow themselves the excuse. So I followed suit. I decided I'm going to go to the gym every single day. And I did that. And every day that I went to the gym, every time I got a little closer to my fitness goal, it literally played into my emotional state. It literally made me happier. And so I said, okay, that made a lot of sense. And then I thought about other examples in my life. Like, for example, when I first met my wife and I would go out on dates with her. And I mean, I'm sure that you can kind of relate to this if you've ever been in love, or maybe you're currently in love. Every time I went on a date with her, or every time I would talk on the phone with her, or just in a sense get closer to building the relationship that we have now, it literally made me happy. And again, it was a state of being in love, but it connected to my happiness. And so I tested it and I said, in all these different examples, progression literally played into my happiness. And that means Tony was actually right, So I thought to myself, I said, okay, now how can I, going forward, make sure that I make this something a part of my lifestyle? And so I thought about it and I said, okay, anytime I get into, that dark place, or that bland place, or that gray place where I'm not really excited about life, what I decided to do is set a new goal for myself. I decided to not only set a big macro goal, we'll call it, but I also decided to create these micro goals or steps that it would take for me to achieve that goal. And so that's what I did. And every time I do that, I notice that it plays into my happiness, and I'm more so in a happy state when I'm there. As I mentioned, I've shared this with some of my friends and colleagues and even some of my clients. And the feedback that I've gotten is once they have followed this, and once they have literally, again, set a goal and took steps to achieve that goal, Like literally every time I would get just a positive feedback, and every time they would explain to me that it worked in their lives. So I wanted to share that with you because I believe that if you first understand this concept and then apply this concept, you will see your emotional state literally go from a negative state to a positive state, literally just by progressing in a goal. And again, I know, and I really want to make this point that it may sound like what I'm saying is when you would make a huge achievement, you're going to be happy. And of course, when you achieve anything, happiness comes out of that. But literally the key is the steps to that achievement also make you happy. So just even progressing one small little step at a time will help you be happier. So again, if you're struggling with happiness, or if you know someone that's struggling with happiness, I want to encourage you to apply this to your life. Now, like I said, I've shared this with a lot of friends and clients and colleagues, and the ones that have been able to apply it to their lives, as I already mentioned, I've gotten great feedback. But I've also gotten feedback from certain people that they weren't able to take those steps, meaning that they understood the concept. In fact, they believed the concept. They set a goal, but they just fell short of reaching that goal, or even taking the first initial steps in trying to reach that goal. And so if you're one of those people that, consistently procrastinates whenever you start a goal, or, you struggle with seeing your goal to completion, or let's say you set a goal but you just have a problem with focusing on the task, I want you to know that you're not alone. I know so many people that have run into the same issue, and there are answers. One of the things that I want to recommend for you is attaching a motivation behind that goal. That was one of the biggest key, I would say, the difference makers for me. A key difference maker was, anytime that I set a goal and I struggled with trying to get started with that goal, I would usually figure out what's my motivation. And I would attach a very, very strong motivation behind it. And a lot of times that's what would help me in taking the steps and getting to that place I want to get to. But if you try that, and again, it's not a quick fix, and believe me, I know that it's not a quick fix. There's so many different layers, and there's so many different other factors in play. I recognize this. I want to recommend a book that I wrote, and I think that if you struggle with this, you would get a lot of benefit from this book that I wrote. In fact, I have a copy of it right here. I just want to show you it right now. I'm going to include a link, but this is a book that I wrote. It's called The Virus in Your Operating System: Eliminate That Thing That Holds You Back. And this book was inspired by my friends and clients that a lot of times had a goal in mind and literally wanted to reach that goal, but for some reason, again, they held themselves back. Again, procrastination, maybe they self-sabotaged their steps, but for some reason they just weren't able to kind of get things going. And so what this does is this literally peels back the layer of the issue, and gives you a solution to helping you get closer to achieving that goal. Again, the idea of this book is it helps you to eliminate that thing that holds you back. So if you're in that group, feel free, please take a look at my book. I really believe you're going to see a lot of value. It's available on Amazon right now, and I'll include a link for you as well so you can find it very, very easily. Okay, so that's all I have. This is all the information I want to share with you, but I want to end by saying that if you have any questions about what I shared, or if you have any comments, or if you want to share your story, please feel free to reach out to me. I love to answer any questions, and I love to just hear the feedback as well. So again, don't be afraid to kind of reach out to me. So hopefully you will. And beyond that, I just want to thank you for your time. Your time is valuable to me, and so I want to thank you for taking the time to listen this to the end. And Thank you again. Take care.